I've got your album, been listening to it constantly. But before we talk about the album and the single, I'd like to talk about you. So where are you actually from?
I am originally from Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, which is actually located on Cape Breton Island on the east coast of Canada. I grew up in a very small coal mine town. Actually, it was probably, I shouldn't say small, because it was probably one of the biggest towns in Glace Bay, in Canada, rather, at the time. There was, I think, 23,000 people were the population, but it was a very, compared to the cities in Canada, it would be a much smaller place, but it was a very nice place to grow up, and I was exposed to lots of different types of music, and I think that's where my love of country music first started.
Well, I was going to ask you where your love of music comes from, but, do you come from a musical family?
The interesting thing is our family's kind of an interesting mix, because on one side we have Scottish descent, and then on the other side we have Italian, and my great-grandfather was actually from Padova, Italy, and he was a musician, and apparently a musician that could play absolutely anything. And I think I inherited that talent from him, because nobody else in the family other than me is musical. I kind of blame my mom, actually, because she tells me while she was pregnant with me, she played music constantly, and music was something when I was growing up. It was where most kids would play soccer and basketball and hockey and things like that. I turned to the record player, so I think this is where my first love came from.
So when you was at school, did you, was you encouraged to play a particular musical instrument?
The usual stuff, the little ukulele thing and the recorder thing, the things that nobody wants to really admit to. I tried to play guitar when I was in my teens, and I didn't really like it, so I switched over to piano. So when I write, I usually write most of my stuff on piano. But then just recently I've kind of picked up the guitar again. I don't know whether it's the fact that I'm older now. I think I'm really enjoying learning the guitar. So the guitar seems to be one of my new things that's kind of piqued my interest. But yeah, that's basically what happened there.
Well, your debut album is called On My Way to Finding You, the first single, Wash Me Away. Tell me about this track, why you chose this one as the first single release.
Wash Me Away, I think it was one of those songs that when it was pitched to me, because it was pitched to me through my producer's associate, Susan Tucker in Nashville, who did actually a song search for us at Soaring Eagle Productions when we went into production for the album. And Wash Me Away came to me in a bunch of demos, and Wash Me Away was written by Mike McGuire and Mark Narmore. Now, Mark Narmore, he's written, I may be mistaken, but he's written some stuff for Reba, and Mark has been an incredibly high-profile writer in Nashville. And Mike McGuire, I don't know if you remember, was the band Shenandoah. They were very popular in the 90s. They still are popular. And he was the co-writer. They wrote this together. And I heard Wash Me Away, and the reason why I picked Wash Me Away was because I picked most of the songs just on the premise of, if I was driving in my car, would this be the kind of song that I would hear on the radio? And Wash Me Away was definitely one of those songs. And as soon as I heard it, I thought, this is really, really catchy. And then I learned it and sang it a couple of times, and then I realized that I could make it my own, because I wouldn't want to do anything that I can't really feel. And Wash Me Away just totally came to life. And then we went down to Nashville, and we actually recorded it with Kim Copeland, the producer at Funhouse Studios, and it just took on a life of its own. Wash Me Away, I think, is going to be a song that's going to probably follow me my whole career, and it's an interesting song, because a lot of people have said it kind of sounds old country and it kind of sounds new country all at the same time. And I think that's the magic of it. I think that's what Kim Copeland has managed to capture in that song.
I would agree with you that absolutely. I was listening it in my car on the way to the interview today, and I was trying to think of how I'd sum it up to somebody who hadn't heard it before. And what came to me was the fact that none of the songs, I would say, sounds like any other particular song, but at the same time, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. And I've been trying to figure out exactly the sound of the album, and I've listened to it a lot too, because when you do it, when you actually record an album yourself, it takes a while to let it all sink in. And then basically what I've done is I let it go, and I haven't really listened to it for about a month or so. I went back and I revisited it, and then I really thought about, what does this really sound like? And it really sounds, it has this very interesting sound, and I don't think anybody quite has that right now. And I think we've captured something that's quite special, and I'm very proud of that. And I appreciate all the people that were involved that helped me do this, because it's an amazing thing when you go to do a project of this size. People have no idea exactly how much work actually goes into it.
Well, there's 11 tracks on the album, On My Way to Finding You. You penned a couple of the tracks, I see. I mean, you've already explained it just a little bit, but what's the process? What goes into you deciding what gets included and what's not included on the album?
Well, I think, I can quote, I was watching a movie. I went to see Country Strong at the theater, and I love that movie. I think it's a great movie. And the lead actress said to one of the supporting actresses in the movie, she said, just remember, she said, you don't have to write your own stuff. She made reference to not writing your own stuff. She said, it's all about a great song, she said, whether you write it or not. And I chose songs for this album on the premise that they were great songs. And I asked myself in the beginning, could I probably write the whole album? And I probably could have, but I think it would have been very one-sided, because I'm a very particular type of writer, and you can almost automatically know what I've written. I know when I hear it. It just has it's very deep, and I wanted some stuff that was a little bit lighter. So the only way for me to get that was to source other material. Now, I'm not saying I might develop and become a little bit lighter in the future, but it's just who I am right now as an artist. And so this process was very enlightening for me, because I went through listening to all these songs. And the interesting thing about it, writing your own, it's very easy to sing your own song, to interpret your own song and sing it in a studio. But it's another thing to be able to take somebody else's song that they've written with a given idea and then make it your own song. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me, entering the studio, was capturing that magic and making that song my own. So the selection process for the songs, it took us about, I think within 6 weeks, we listened to over probably 200 songs, and we chose the 8 songs that are written by other people other than myself on the album. So that was pretty well the process that we went through to get there.
Oh, you mentioned Kim Copeland earlier. She penned one of the numbers on there, and you said you actually recorded it in Nashville. I mean, how important was it for you to record in the home of country music, Nashville? I said this a couple of times in interviews already about Nashville. Nashville was a very special place for me. I'm, being Canadian, I'm not saying I could have recorded the album here, and I will record here in Canada, for sure. But my whole life, I've always wanted to go to Nashville. And when I decided to kind of reinvent myself and come back into the music again, because I'd kind of left it for a while, when I came back into it, I said, I really want to do this, and I think this is the timing. And I got a hold of Kim Copeland, and we spoke, and it was like magic between Kim and I. And I went into her office, and I just told her, I said, look, here I am. I want to do an album project. I said, what can you do for me? And she explained to me what she was going to do, and she just came from an angle that she said to me, she said, I will help you develop even more as an artist, and that was very important to me. And going to Nashville, I was embraced with open arms by everybody there, and it's an amazing thing when you get, a great musician like Mike McGuire that sends you an email and says, I've listened to this song. I wrote this song a while ago. I'm glad it's found a home, and I've listened to it 4 times now, and you've done a great job of it. And I think that was probably one of the most humbling things that's ever happened to me. So Nashville was an amazing experience, right from the get-go, from the first time I went there. I love Nashville, and I wouldn't be contrary to spending a lot of time there. I'm going to be going back there and co-writing with some people that actually wrote songs on the album On My Way. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the future. So you're saying you're writing more material. Is that material destined for a future album, or are you writing material for other artists?
I don't know. I'd love to be totally self-indulgent and say, it's just for me, but I won't be, because I would love. I think one of the biggest compliments I think that any artist could ever get is somebody else recording your song. And I've had that experience with other people, because these songs that are on My Way to Finding You are very special songs. There's some songs on there that are very descriptive of my life, and I sat down with these songwriters and said, I just wanted to thank you very much for writing this, because it's touched me, and it's something that I'll have for the rest of my life. It's going to be a part of me from now on. So yeah, it's a very interesting experience that somebody else would take your material, and they were so happy that a Canadian was recording his first album project and including their material, and they were so thankful of that. So I would love for somebody to pick up something that I've written, probably in the future, down the road, and record it. I think that would be a great honor.
Right, so the album's done. Your first single, Wash Me Away, is being played on the radio. You mentioned your band earlier. Are we going to see you and your band out and about on the road?
Yeah, I actually, Soaring Eagle Productions is our company here in Canada, and we've been working closely with a couple of different people. We have Cameron Tilbury Publicity in the UK, and we also have Deborah Wood Publicity here in Canada. So Deborah's handling our Canadian end, and Cameron's handling Europe and the UK and Australia for us. And I think what's coming up, Brian, is you're gonna see probably a radio tour of the UK in the fall, and possibly I'll be on the festival circuit next year is what we're looking forward to in Europe, and probably a radio tour here in Ontario for the fall, following Wash Me Away for the second single. So there's going to be a lot of action live-wise. I really look forward to getting out there live. I think that's what's going to happen. I want to make sure that I gain a little bit of momentum, so that when I come over there, that people will actually know who I am. We're actually shooting a music video. One of the reasons why we're shooting a music video for the second single is the fact that we want to make sure that people get to see me in Europe and the UK and Australia, because I won't be there for the next few months. So we want to be present there, and for people to be able to come on. I think image is very important. I think people need to see a face and be able to identify with the artist, and I think through video you can do that. And I think that's why, one of the main reasons why we're doing a video for the next single. And so you'll see the video for sure. And then probably me in the fall, like I say, I'll be in the UK doing a radio tour, and Cameron Tilbury is going to be the one that's going to help us set that up.
You mentioned the second single. I mean, you've already chosen that one. What is it? I'll give you a little sneak. It's going to be it's one that's been penned by me and Kim Copeland, and it's All You Need is the name of that single. It's one that I wrote in January with Kim Copeland. And it's a great song. One of those really simple songs. And when I first wrote it, I thought, with Kim, it's kind of simple. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, she said, it's simple, but it's really, really, really great. And I'm like, okay, so we kind of took it home and listened to it. And when we recorded it and people actually heard the album before we released it, everybody was coming back and telling me how much they love that song. And I thought, well, it's one of those things. I just read an article about John Cougar Mellencamp, and he didn't like Jack and Diane when he wrote it, and it became one of his biggest songs. So you never know how people are going to interpret things, but All You Need is, I've learned that it's a great, simple song. I really look forward to doing the video for it, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with it as a second release. Especially for the people in the UK who haven't already got the album, where can they get their hands on it?
Okay, so the way it's working right now, you can go to my website, which is Drake Jensen, DrakeJensen.ca, and you can purchase the album there, and you'll actually, and if they want it autographed, I can open it up, because I have them all shrink-wrapped, or I can open them up and I'll autograph them for you. I have posters available, CDs available on the website. You can also get the CD on iTunes. Mm-hmm. It's available on CD Baby also.
Right.
So you can go there too. And the other thing is, I'd like to invite people to come on my Facebook page. Come on, I have a musician page on Facebook, and come and join my page, and there's going to be a lot of updates there. So they'll always keep up on what's exactly going on in my world, because there's new things that happen every day that are really exciting. So if they come and they just hit an I like on my Facebook page, they'll be able to see updates all the time from Soaring Eagle Productions and myself.
Drake, thank you very much for spending time with us today. I look forward to seeing you and hearing you playing live in the near future, and good luck for the future projects that you've already got on the go by the sounds of it.
Things are going really well, Brian, and thank you so much for supporting me and having me on your website. It's a real surreal thing when you click on a website and you see yourself sandwiched between Lyle Lovett, Alan Jackson, and Lady Antebellum. So it's a real booster for me, and like I said, I don't take it lightly. So thank you so much, Brian. Again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Take care. Okay, bye-bye.